Right, this is Lady X UK, and this is Project Winter. This is our first week, so this was Tuesday, Wednesday and Thursday of last week, and this is where I'm starting to build my game in Twitch. So this is going to be a series of clips in fast forward of me making the build. So we're starting off, I'm going to make our player character. So when I'm making player character heads, I like to do like a skull shape first and then build up the features on that. I haven't done that many faces, and some days the muse is with me and I do a decent face and I'm really happy with it, and other days not so much. Now this particular sculpt that was coming along, we were getting a face, but it wasn't the face of a hero that I wanted, and the more I added, the worse it got. So I decided in the end that I wasn't going to use the face that I was sculpting here, and I had made one earlier on in the day as a sort of practice which I really liked, and I saved just in case I didn't get a face that I liked during the Twitch stream, so that I can use it. There's the thing about trying to make things in the Twitch stream, you don't want to be boring everybody trial and error all of the time, but that's mostly what Dreams is about. It's about building and trialing and error. Anyway, there's the face that I'd made earlier on in the day. So I started to make his outfit, so I put a barrel shaped piece on him and started sculpting it in to make the top of his coat, and then I'm spreading the clay around on the midriff part. So it's going to be material, so you want it to make it look sort of crinkly and everything. Now this hood, the design on this, because it's a winter world, I wanted a warm coat with a hood on with a fur lining, and we did various attempts on this hood. The more attempts I make, the better it got, but we had a lot of problems with colliding and me having it scoped into the wrong part of the body, because it started off, this was part of the coat, so I had it scoped into the chest piece, which was a wrong decision. We really needed it scoped into the head so that it moved with the head, so I had to redo it because it was in the wrong position. So we tried it a few times, different shapes, different techniques. There's me putting on the coat. There's a lot of fiddling about, and it's a bit embarrassing when you're on the Twitch stream and things are not going particularly well. I was getting somewhere with the design of this, but it was proving a little difficult. So here's how I do fur. It's a separate sculpt, that way you can get a different texture to the other parts of the outfit. So I'm putting on a little bit of a design there to make it look less like a modern coat, a bit more medieval looking. I'm adding some fur to the sleeves there, which we do a bit later on because I wasn't very keen on it. Obviously, this is very early days and things are being added to this and replaced. And it wasn't until I started walking him around that I realised it wasn't right. There was some collision issues and etc. But here's putting the belt on. So I'm making a belt that helps to hide the join between the two pieces. So here you see that I've got that joined as one piece, and I decided I didn't want that, so I had to copy it, cut it about until I got two pieces. But then we had a lot of issues with things not moving correctly and not scoped into the right parts, so they had to be moved around. So all of this took a lot longer than I was hoping for. There was a major issue with collision with the hood. It's making the neck pop up, as you can see there. and it didn't matter what I tried. I tried taking the collision off of all sorts of parts of it, and it still didn't make any difference. So I thought the best thing to do, rather than try and force this to work, is to delete the hood after all this and start again. Because even with no collision on, it was still doing it. It's always a good idea to put it into play mode, walk your character around with your outfit, because it's very easy for things to collide and not work out well. So here is the final attempt at the hood. Again, we've still got issues with the head, so we've got to try and get that hood on there without the collision issues. And I tried a different method, still not quite right. I tried a different method here with for making this hood, and it's interesting, the more times I made the hood, the better it got. So we ended up with a much better outfit than I would have done if I had got it right first time, to be honest. So sometimes things work out and you end up with a better look. So there's me putting the fur. This is a different method of putting the fur on, so I'm not using the smear tool. I'm actually carving it out of a sphere, changing the texture of it, and it worked really well, I thought. You just stretch it so it fits the model. And we ended up with something that I think looks pretty cool, but again, we still got the head popping up. Trying to work out what was causing it. I think in the end I put the hood on the neck part, and it wasn't clashing with the head anymore. So just sculpt it. As we putting some fur on and then deciding against it. Trial and error, just try things out, see if you like it. Don't like it, remove it. There's his trousers. Putting on another belt and then sticking a third belt across. Giving it a little bit of a paint job. It starts to come together really quickly. As soon as you get some paint on here, it starts to look a lot more interesting. Obviously, this is just the first draft of this character. It's going to need a little bit of work, because we're doing this really quickly live on a stream, and it does need fiddling about with. It might not even be the character model that I end up with in the game even. So now I decided I was going to put a mountain range in, just to see what it looked like. So I get a sense of what it looks like in situ, and I think that was, I was quite pleased with that. I think that looked quite good. So there he is. There's our first draft of our player character. So we move on to day 2, and day 2, one of the people that viewed Payoff Wizard viewed the stream on the Tuesday, was inspired and went off and made this beautiful character here. I'd love to use her in my game. She's a little bit high on thermo at the moment, so I'd like to keep the character models down to below 10 if possible. This was 18% thermo. It's a beautiful model. I really do want to use her in the game somehow. We'll find a place for her. But I'm not going to, I've decided I wasn't going to make a separate female and male character. Instead, I thought what we'll do is we'll just have a different head option. So I was looking at him, and I thought you could do with a bag of some sort. I had made a rucksack in the Dreamverse during early access, so I thought I'd might be able to utilise that. So I took it and started taking it apart, see if I can make it look less like a modern rucksack. But I think it still looked too modern. So even though I put it on and tried it out, I decided actually that did not help with getting that medieval feel. So I scrapped that idea and decided we'll work on the female head instead. So what I did was I just copied the head. Realised I hadn't drawn any eyebrows on him, which make him look a little more human than it did before. His face also doesn't have any painting on it or anything. It's just very basic. And then I thought, well, okay, on the female face it's going to have thinner eyebrows, more dainty. I'm going to use exactly the same face. I'm just going to feminise it. I'm going to put some cheekbones in. So we get the colour, we pick the colour of the skin so it matches. And then we'll need to put the mirror on. So we do both sides at the same time. Faces, because they are symmetrical, it's a really good idea to always use the mirror tool when you're making faces. So I'm adding some cheekbones. I had it on Surface Snap, which wasn't what I wanted, so I had to readjust. So I'm going to put some cheekbones on, make it look more feminine, and soften up the face shape so it's less angular. And immediately you can see that is definitely more of a feminine face, even though it is clearly the same face. It's very little been done, but I'm going to thin out the nose a bit as well, trying to make it a little bit more dainty. And we're also going to add a little bit of darkness around the eyes, so it looks a bit like makeup, I guess, but it just adds to the feminine look of the character. If we do that, there we are. And then maybe a little bit of colour on the lip as well. There we are. So now we've got a female version of my male character. And what we're going to do is we're going to swap the heads in and out with a keyframe for visibility, depending on whether you've chosen to play as a boy or girl. And that way I don't need to change the outfit. And it will keep the thermo down so I don't have two characters. So there's a little bit of toing and froing and putting in keyframes and making sure the head was scoped into the right parts. So what we're doing here is we're creating keyframes that makes one invisible and the other visible. And then I've just popped it into a selector here. So I know, one is a he, one is a she, and just to test it out, I've wired that up to the left button. As you can see, there's a little bit of tweaking to do, where the head is not quite scoped in correctly. There we go. Then we can move backwards and forwards between the two faces. Right. So, with a little bit more to be done with the character, I'm just going to change some of the proportions, make it look a little less stretched and a little bit more squat, which works really well. That was a suggestion on my comments on the community page. So if you watch the stream and you didn't comment at the time, if you thought of something, then please leave a comment in the community stream or on this video, on this comment video. If you've got some really good ideas, share them. They might make it into the game. So here's me making a more suitable rucksack bag for his back. So I'm going to sculpt this. This is a separate sculpt. Just checking that for scale. And here we are, we're going to make this bag. So I'm going to use the blend tool and sort of evolve this bag with the blended circular shapes. Circular shapes are much easier to blend than hard-edged ones. Hard-edged ones, you get these weird lines and things which are awkward. So if it's possible to sculpt using rounded shapes, you'll get a much better job. Obviously it's going to be very organic looking, not very many straight edges, but you can always create a straight edge afterwards by cutting it with the straight edge and things like that. So but to get a nice smooth shape, you really need to use smooth sculpting tools, and then you don't get those hard edges. So there's me adding a sort of a rope to the bag. You can see this is making a sort of more of a medieval purse type thing. I'm quite pleased with that actually. That's the sort of shape I want. And we're just going to cut into the bag just to add with a high blend, just to add the crinkles of the material so it looks like it's material rather than something hard. Adds to the shape. You want a irregular shape. There we go. Just making the hole at the top a little bit more prominent, so it looks like the bag has got some interior and it's not just flat. It's a bit more 3D. So I'm going to colour it in. Painting really livens up everything. You can really see whether or not you've achieved what you were going for once you start painting it up. So get a nice sculpt going, and then you'll find that painting can make all the difference. You can texturize with paint, make things look more worn or rusty, or different textures of materials. You see that I'm using different colours of the brown here to try and create a sort of a dirt look to it, the way it's been like worn in different places. And we want the interiors of the bag to be darker. It's a bit of a dark picture on this stream, but it does work. And then we scope that into his back, stick it on there. And there we go, he's got a backpack, and then I'm going to put some straps on the front. I'll try and get it into the right position here. Because don't forget, when a player is playing a game like this, the thing they're going to see most is the back of your character. So it's always good to spend a little bit of time. A lot of people make really great characters that look good from the front, and they forget, you know, that when you're running around, the player's likely to see more of the back than they are of the front. So don't neglect what it looks like around the back. So I'm going to add some straps. going to use the curve tool for this. Makes it nice and easy just to get the right contour. I wish there was some more grab points on this curve tool. It would really help. Just a couple more. Gives you a lot more variety on that curve tool. John Beach thought that was a good idea, but I don't think anything has happened. But just adding a little bit more flexibility to the curve tool would be great, because at the moment there's only the two handles, so trying to get it fitted to a complicated shape is actually quite hard, and you end up having to make like two pieces and things like that, which is not ideal. There you can see we're getting the straps in. Just got to maneuver it and get it in the right position. Don't forget, this is not stamped yet. Now, the mistake I've made a lot of times when I've been sculpting is I've done this and then I go, yeah, that's it, and then come out and realise I haven't stamped it. So see on the right hand side there's a little stamp icon. Once you get it exactly as you want, press that stamp icon and then the shape is stamped into the world. Otherwise, like that, you get this, and there where the piece is actually on your imp and not where you placed it. But it's handy now. I've got another one stamped in, so I don't have to do it again. It's a symmetrical character, so I can just place the other strap in, and it doesn't have to be exactly the same position, so you get some variety. You don't want everything to be completely symmetrical, because obviously that doesn't look real then. There we go. There's our bag or rucksack put on. Right, at this point I decided to leave the model and start working on a set design. So I make a collection first of all the bits and pieces that I might want to use. So I go through the Dreamverse, look for things that are suitable for adding to making a snowy scape. So I've tried various there's some different scenes here and different objects that we might want to use. So we've got a nice collection. So I'm going to use these objects to build up my world. I'm just checking them all out to see if they are as useful as I was hoping for. Some of them better than others, and so I'm refining my collection to what I'm going to use. So this is a scene, which is obviously not what we want, but it's got some houses in here that I quite like, and so I'm going to check out in the genealogy the actual original objects, so now I can put those into my collection. So if you see a scene and there's some things in that you like, you might find that they have also pulled things from the Dreamverse. You don't go have to hunt them down, just go into the genealogy and check it out. I didn't think there was anything in that one, so there we go. So now we're going to start on our scene. So I'm just laying the snow down. I decided that the big piece was possibly the one to go with here, but I didn't want all these rocks, and you find some weird stuff inside people's sculpts, so I want to just pare it down a little bit. I didn't want it quite so rocky, and I didn't quite need quite so much of the foliage or the grass and what have you. And I try to blend things together, make sort of snow drifts and things in the shape. So here I'm just cloning that snow, and I'm going to make the base. This is going to be the ground for my character there. So this helps with scale, gives you a sense of like how big do I need to make this set. It's always good to have a scale, and the character is the best one to use. So when you're making anything for a scene, and you want to make sure the scale is right. Yes, you can reduce it and increase it to match, but if you make everything to the same scale, it makes life a lot easier. It's just a matter of stamping things down. So here we've got some houses. So I'm going to make them so that they're the right size so you can get through the door. I love the way that these have got orange lights and things on them. It really gives a nice glow to everything. Just adding some trees. At the moment, these houses are all are the ones that I've used. I may go in and amend them or swap them out or make my own. This is just a placeholder situation at the moment, but it's starting to look quite good, so a lot of this is probably going to remain. This is one of my medieval houses, but I think it's too high in the thermo, and it's not as nice as the other one, and it was my first ever house. I wasn't too sure about the style of it, so I couldn't really improve the thermo on it either because it was already blue all the way through. So I decided in the end that it wasn't going to be suitable. So I decided to delete the house after fiddling about with it. The house is too small as well, so I thought, yeah, it's too big. Get rid of it. Let's try and max these out a bit. I mean, when you make a village, a lot of the houses are going to be the same anyway, and it will help with the thermo if you try and duplicate as much as you possibly can rather than putting in separate bits. So now I'm going to add some snow to the roof. I'm going to use a blend tool with a sort of flattened disc. This adds lots of lovely drift effects. And that looks pretty cool. And again, to help with the thermo, I'm going to use the same snow. Just copy it, pop it on all the roofs. And that doesn't look too bad at all. Just changing the sky there. I want to make it a lot more suitable for a winter scene, so made the sun a little bit blue, made the sky white, and now it feels cold. It feels like a wintry thing. This is my well. I made that during early access. It's a summer well, but just a little bit of tweaking of the colour and suddenly it's all snowy. Just put some snow on the roof just to add to the effect. I don't think that looks too bad. So you've got to think when you're building a village, is like, what buildings are you going to need? You're going to need, do you need a church? Do you need a tavern? How many houses? Do you need shops? That sort of thing. This is just a little sort of hamlet, really, a little tiny village, so it doesn't really need very much. I think most of the shops and things are going to be in the local town. But this will probably be the tavern or something like that. Or possibly, I might use that as the grand hall entrance. I need to think. There's a building that I need for the story called the Elders Hall. It's a large hall, meeting hall, and that's what I'm going to build for the day 3 build. We'll see that in a minute. So at the moment I'm trying to take bits of the houses I've already got to try and make a new building. I decided to scrap that at this point, but that is something that makes it thermo a little bit better because you've already got the object in the world, so thermo's lower. So now we're going to add a lake. I tried a few lake options, ready-made lakes, just to see. This one has some houses in it, which wasn't going to be suitable. So I ended up with just this plain frozen lake disc, which worked out quite well. So I started adding snow around it to give me my lake. And then I went looking for some cliffs. There we go, just to put around. Because don't forget, you're going to need to, at some point, stop your player from going out the boundaries. So we're going to need to put some invisible shapes around this as well. But if we can put some natural barriers in, so it looks as if it isn't suitable. Just lowering all these bits and pieces. Always check what you've done. Get into the game, press play, move your character around, see what the player is going to see. Because it might look perfectly fine to you in create mode, but then when you get to the player's view, it might look a little odd. Right, so this is day 3. I decided I was going to work on the timer for the game. The time aspect is quite important for the game, because the longer that you spend doing things, the worse the village is going to get. So there's going to be like a village stat where you can see how the village is doing, and you can improve that by sending them money and things like that. But I needed a timer on there that will help with the alteration of the status of the village, how long it takes you to get from place to place. Also, I'm going to put in a day-night cycle in here, so I will need a 24-hour clock ticking away so that I can make a nice, easy transition between morning, afternoon, evening, nighttime. So it's important to do this. However, trying to work this out on a live stream was not proving to be particularly successful. I know I can build one of these, but it wasn't working out on the stream. So what I did in the end was give up on that and decide to make a hall instead. So this is the build of the hall. So I started off with the bricks. This is the way I like to do it with cutouts. I find that it is better for the thermo. I've tried different methods. I've tried cloning bricks. I've tried embossing bricks onto a flat and everything, and I found that cutting the bricks out is actually slightly the better method. So that's how I make my brick walls now. I cut them out. It's pretty quick as well. Makes for quite a quick brick wall. Obviously, none of these have been painted or anything. This is just the very basic clay at the moment. So the Elders' Hall is a strong part of the storyline. This is where your character comes to the revelation that they need to go on a quest, and this is where we see some of the villagers and we learn about their plight, and again, I haven't done it very particularly evenly, but it just looks handmade then, I guess. So I put my character in for scale purposes and decided it wasn't a big enough hall. It needed to be a bit more dramatic than that. So we've gone with a much bigger hall. Then people started complaining that there was no doorway and that I was going to kill him by sticking him in a room with no door. So we cut out a door. We used the cutout tool to just cut out bits and pieces out of each of the pieces there. Took a little bit of working out, but we eventually managed to cut ourselves a doorway. There we go. And I found myself a door that was suitable. Lots of doors available in Dreamverse, lots to choose from. We went with this in the end. Had to adjust it a little bit, change the angle of the door so that it wasn't inside the building. little bit of tweaking, and then we ended up with the door that could open and shut with no problems. There we go. So now I'm going to start on the roof. Now the thing about this particular build is this is an interior, so I don't need to worry about what it looks like from the outside. I only need to worry about what it looks like from the inside. So if you're making something that you're going to use for the outside and the inside, like a dual purpose, then obviously you need to make things that look okay all the way around. But I didn't need to worry about that, so as long as it looked okay from inside the building, it didn't really matter if there was bits sticking out or bits that were too big and overhanging or anything like that. So I'm just making the timber frame, and then I'm just doing a flat piece. This is going to be the actual roof. I wanted it actually quite soft, so you can make it. You notice when you make pieces larger, they get softer and softer. So if you don't want them that soft, you would have to optimize them in the other direction that you normally optimize. So make them sharper to get a sharper look. Now we're getting somewhere. Now we stick the roof on. This is starting to look like a medieval or Viking hall, which is what the look I was going for. Just need to stretch these poles so that they hit the roof line. None of this is painted, by the way. This is all just the ordinary clay. It's looking quite good without painting, but I am going to paint it. I just don't get round to it in this particular stream. Right, we're sticking in a chimney. I think I decided, I don't know if I'm talking to everybody, but I think I decided to put in a funnely bit. So we redid that. So we made it so that it came through with a little bit of funnel. So we need to put a fireplace now underneath. So we need a stone floor first. I picked a medium molecule stone floor to start with, which was cool, but when I went in to try and change the colour of it, it was like it's thousands of pieces, which is it was like, oh my god, the effort. I can't be bothered. Let me try. That's the trouble with medium molecule objects. They look great, but when you want to amend them, they have a tendency to be a little bit less useful. So I tried some other floorings. Sometimes you choose something and it's you put it in, and then once you've seen it in situ or you've made it bigger and everything, I've come to the conclusion that if you're going to do a floor, do that before you do the roof. It'll really help. Don't put the roof on first. I made that mistake. I think I decided I didn't like the floor, so we went for another one instead. We're going to get there. We're going to find a floor that is suitable. There we go. I wanted one that's not too much effort. Don't want them too big. But this is tiled quite nicely. And we ended up with our floor. Our room was just a tad too big. So there we go. So there's our floor in. I was going to recolour the floor, but it's I decided I would leave it for now. The thing about making things in a stream, it's completely different to making it at home on your own. You're not got to worry about entertaining people and boring people to death while you change the colours of 1,000 bricks. But so a lot of this is not exactly how I would do it on my own. I was trying to show a candle effect where you just use an action recorder and just wiggle the slider backwards and forwards on the brightness, and that creates a really nice effect. And you can always use the things like the pictures and whatever, but then I ended up scrapping it anyway because somebody pointed out, you're going to put a fire in there, let's put the fire in, see how much light it gives, you might not want the candles. Which is like, that is very true, let's put the fire in. So I found myself a campfire that I liked. This one came with two, actually. It came with a dead fire and a live fire. I just added a little bit more wood to it from the wood pile that I'd found, and added a little bit more flame, so it was a little bit bigger fire. So then we went and found some smoke. This made all the difference. So we ended up with a really good looking fire with the smoke going up. I was very pleased with that. So we're getting somewhere with this. With 5 minutes to go, 10 minutes to go, so we started putting some furniture in. So I just sort of tried a few things. There's a chair here, and then decided actually it's a bit modern looking for what I want. So I decided to go hunt for some benches, and found a nice wooden bench that looked rustic enough. I think that's a better look for my medieval hall. And I get them so the feet were on the ground. So there we are. It's very easy to accidentally grab things that you don't want to. I should freeze them, really, that would help. So you can freeze things down so that you can't accidentally grab them, which is probably a good idea. But when you're rushing and trying to make something on the stream, you forget all of the techniques, all the good techniques, and you end up just scratching around making something. So here's me making a carpet. I use the mirror tool and I just draw a carpet. This one, because it's on a rough floor, you've got a sort of rough uneven surface. If you did it on a flat object, then you'd get a much nicer design. But I wanted it to be actually a bit rough, a bit worn, so this worked out quite well for me. So there we are, and we can always recolour that, so we can make multiple carpets. There we go. So that's what we made in the stream this week. Hope you enjoyed that, and I'll see you next week, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, 2 o'clock on Twitch. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you in your dreams.